Before y'all come in our comments, I feel like this is gonna piss people off. It's coming out. We coming out. Happy Good Friday.
Right? Be mad. I don't care. Like
Be big mad.
be big mad and you know what? Better
But
yet,
now I'm gonna hit you with facts.
instead of being big mad, pray for me. You know what I mean?
It's the Pivot Point Podcast with Nnete and Vernique.
What are you doing because you want to do it? I'm ready. So yeah.
We ready.
Money making moves.
I started speaking my mind and triple my views.
Period. She calls you.
Like we need to pivot. We on our dream-ish.
So y'all know what that ish means.
Hey, welcome to the Pivot Point. I'm your girl Nnete.
And Vernique.
How you doing, girl?
Girl, here.
You made
Every
it.
week I say that. Every week I say that, but we didn't sing this week. Okay, there I go.
Well, usually, that's how I be starting off. Like, we just be, look, we need to be like, man, we made it. We made it. You know what I mean? But it's all good. How's your week been? What's going on with you?
Girl, busy, but I feel like I finally caught my wind. Like I finally got my rhythm, and I don't feel as overwhelmed as I have in the past. I don't want to say I was overwhelmed, but it was just kind of like, oh, I gotta get everything done. But this week has been really good, so I'm excited. How about your week?
Likewise, I'm excited. I am happy. I feel like in the past 7 days, because I be feeling, man. I be having all the feels, but literally I've probably felt every single emotion in the past 7 days, had some, stuff that wasn't cool that I had to, face, and uncomfortable conversations. But then I had my first real estate transaction that closed on Monday. Yes. Shout out, right, to the Belliard family, Christine and David Belliard, young DJ, young Ava. They got a beautiful home in Sugarland in the Greatwood neighborhood. I'm so excited. I'm so grateful. And I'm just ready to keep building, trying to, just learn, building my real estate investment portfolio and just figuring out my space in the real estate world. Cause now I'm like, oh, I've just learned so much. And I'm like, well, what exactly do I want to do? I'm still learning. And I'm grateful and I'm happy. And we's here.
I'm glad you mentioned that. One, talk about full circle moment this week. Amen and amen.
Yes, full circle. Because I talked about that on Instagram just a little bit. So basically, y'all, last year, March 29th, God said go. All the people that watch Love and Hip Hop and Love and Marriage Huntsville with Melody Holt and Martell Holt, she got this whole line.
About that.
Oh yeah, I like that show. And I like it because it's more realistic and it's not so, it's just more like everyday folks. And maybe that's why some people don't like it because it's like, well, this looks too familiar. But I'm like, it's relatable to me. But anyway, March 29th of last year, God said go. I packed up my bags like probably in 45 minutes to an hour and bought my plane ticket at the gate at Burbank Airport and literally came home to Houston and, to heal and figure out what's next. What am I going to be doing? And in that past year, before I even flew, back to Houston, in LA, I was trying to get my real estate license because I was like, look, I'm not about that struggle artist life. I can do many things and I understand that LA is busy. You got to focus this and that, but I am a Nigerian girl and that is what we do. We get the money. And I was not getting money. It was too much going on. And it was just too much. It was too much. And at the time I knew that things were not working, but I didn't understand why they were working, or I wasn't accepting why it was working. I was a little delusional about why it wasn't working. And so anywho, moving forward, a year later, so I come back to Houston, I cry and eat Bluebell for 3 months, literally. Whew. And then I started working on my real estate license, got the license in like a month and a half, got the license, was like, oh, wow, I couldn't do this in 2 years in LA, but I do it in 6 weeks while I'm going through a divorce. Crazy. Okay, cool. Finally, took a month to just like interview with so many different brokers, get a broker, getting ready to start. Like I did the full week because I'm with EXP Realty on the CGP team. And did a week of like their virtual conference because I didn't want to do all the stuff virtually. I was like, I need, that's old school part. Like I need to be
in person.
I need to be in person. And then it was like, well, the world shut down. What you going to do? Keep crying and eating Bluebell, or you going to get this real estate license? And then I find a virtual broker, which is like, I was like, damn, had I known about this like 10 years ago, I would have been got my license. You know what I'm saying? Anywho, I'm sitting down literally kind of talking to my mentor, my sponsor about like a real estate transaction. And in between those two meetings, I get a call for my girl, Faith from LA, like, yo, my executive producer at The Real wants to interview you about the producer position. I was like, what? Bam, within 24 hours, I'm producing for The Real television show. And then that gets, such a blessing. That's November. Then literally fast forward to like January. I'm like, yo, I'm doing all this producer stuff. I'm learning so much. I can't do real estate and producing. I tell my team, yo, I can't do it. I can't do both. We're going to have to wait until hiatus. The next day, my line sister, Mitra, because this was in January around like, Founders Day and stuff. And because Christine is an AKA, she did her best.
She tried.
She tried. One of my best friends, Nnete, who's also in real estate school right now, who's finishing up. She got one more class left, girl. She was not playing because she bought I'm gonna let her tell her story, but she's finally. I was like, girl, you leaving money on the table. You tripping. And me and Nnete, we used to be the I click in college because we both, our last name started with an I, and we graduated next to each other from the C.T. Bauer College of Business. Go Cougs, Final Four is going down.
Hey, sent the baby to school with a U of A shirt on. It says Houston Princess on it. It's really cute. I was like, because she's 3, so she'd be trying to pick her own clothes. So we tried to get her a shirt that she was going to agree to wear. It says Houston Princess. It has U of H on it. We were very excited. Okay, sorry.
Oh, my little Addie bear. I wonder why she wants to pick her own clothes like her mommy, right? Like, okay.
She got her own opinions.
Yes, she does. Like her mommy. Right. Okay. I love it. Like getting her sense of self. But long story short, the day after I told my sales leader and Kai, who I love, and Alice, who I love, that I need to take a pause. I can't do this right now. It's too much. I'm going through too much. They were like, we totally understand. Let's know if you need anything, blah, blah, blah. I had said, February 6th. I can come back in February 6th because I'll be done with at least one court date by then, blah, blah, blah. The next day, Christine and Shamitra, my line sisters, they're sending each other, going back and forth on Delta AKA stuff. In the text message, I'm like, like Shamitra sends me a screen capture. I was like, I see all the Delta AKA stuff, but me, I'm observant. The message before it is literally Christine saying something about moving back to Houston. And so I was like, hey, Mitra, what the most important thing is Christine moving back and does she have a realtor? Right. And she was like, actually, you know what? I don't know if she has a realtor. Bam, just like that, I get my first client just for asking. Most importantly. And I mean, I didn't know it was going to be so fast, but then it just went bam. And, they were thinking like March. Next thing you know, she was down. She came down, I think February 3rd, 4th or something like that. And so Alice, who I was partnering with, showed her and her husband and the family around. On February 6th, the day that I said I was going to come back into real estate, was the day that I was with them showing them around to houses. I was like, boy,
there you go. Maybe you spoke all of that into existence. All of it. That's crazy.
And then we closed on March 29th. Full circle, 1 year after obeying the universe, my intuition, God, whatever you want to say, however you want to call it.
Because we're going to talk about it.
Exactly. We're going to talk about it. You see what I did?
You know what? Speaking of, this actually brings it to, because I forgot that it wasn't a closing. I actually helped a family find to lease a place this week.
Nice. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. So they were basically displaced from the winter storm, ruined the house that they had been renting for over 5 years. And Tay, the market is very, very tight. It's tight in everything. It's tight with houses for sale. It's tight with houses for lease. And I mean, we were struggling to find something until finally she said, I really need to get my kids into a place. And I was, because I feel displaced. It's been a month. Yeah. We're writing letters, we're doing all the thing. And I don't know. I too obeyed the universe. I found this, it's an apartment complex, but it's in the middle of a very nice, it's on a golf course. It is on a golf course. There's no gate around it, so it just looks like it's part of the community. And she really wanted a 4-bedroom. I said, girl, I'm sorry, there's no 4-bedroom apartments, but I'm definitely gonna look. Do you know that they turned what would normally have been a patio, they still have a patio, but they turned it into a sunroom, enclosed it. And so when you go in there, what is that? What is that?
A 4-bedroom apartment.
Listen.
You better come on.
I said, I don't know. I'm very familiar with this area, but I'm not familiar with this particular place. I'm telling you, I put on clothes so quickly and drove over to that place. I said, I want to make sure that this is a good, perfect elementary school for the kids. Perfect. I mean, everything about it, on a golf course, walking distance to an amazing element. Girl, I was so happy. I was like, look at me. Like I felt really good because it just feels it's hard to deal with looking at people who have been displaced and needing a place to be and they just can't get. So I felt really good about it, and to actually, because I was like, gosh, she's gonna have to settle, and then she didn't have to settle, and so it felt really good. So
we never have to settle.
No.
And that's what I have to remember. We never have to settle. Congratulations. And you said like some of the key words. Remember when I was looking for my place in LA, the perfect place, the perfect location, the perfect apartment. Like, it's like I always be affirming like, okay, perfect timing, perfect price, perfect location, and speaking it out. So, wow.
So yeah,
congratulations. I'm glad.
Yeah, thank you. And congrats to you.
Thank you.
This has been a good week.
Yes, over here winning and stuff. You know what I mean? Pushing through.
Yes.
And some people think Lil Nas X is winning and pushing through, while other people think, oh, he over here and made a deal with the devil. We're going to talk about pivoting through religion, spirituality today. So if you have not heard yet, I maybe you just ain't on the internet or whatever, but Lil Nas X is receiving a lot of backlash right now because he released a new song and music video called Montero, Call Me By Your Name. Montero is Lil Nas X government name, right?
Yeah.
Now, in this movie, it's basically him. The thing that people are really, really upset with is that he was giving Satan a lap dance, dancing with the devil in there. And there's just a lot of imagery about the devil. I know he slides down a stripper pole into hell.
Great workout. It's a great workout.
Now, I've done a couple pole dancing. I'm like, I respect y'all. I respect all the strippers and stuff because I'm like, woo, a sister is tired and y'all doing that smiling and looking sexy. You better get it, get them coins.
No one is burning their leg as they slide down.
Woo, burning your core, like, and smiling, and you breathing. I'm like, oh, this is a lot of coordination going on. But okay, so have you seen the video? What did you think when you first saw the video?
I thought the video was actually very creative. I loved all the artistry in which he took to create it. I love that it was literally just him in every role. I think he also played Satan, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure, but like even the people that are bringing him to where he's going to hell, I just thought it looked pretty. Is what I liked. I also felt like it wasn't nearly as bad as people made it seem. Like I was really prepared to see some stuff, like some 3-6 Mafia stuff is what I was prepared to see.
Okay, I was gonna bring up 3-6 Mafia. I was gonna bring them up too.
That's what I was really prepared to see, some real like down in the gutter, this is hell, people burning on stakes as we walk by and everything on fire. And I was like, I don't see any of that. But I know the reason people are upset. But I just expected it to be more visually disturbing, and it was not at all.
Right. It would, I will say this is when I first saw the video, I was like, oh, okay. All right, Lil Nas X. He just like, I'm gonna put it all out there. And I was telling my brother, and I said, man, I'm happy for Lil Nas X. Because this was a gentleman before he released Old Town Road. I think it was the little bit of money he had left. And I think he was living with his sister, or he owed his sister some money, whatever the situation. He used the little money he had left for that beat for Old Town Road and recorded it. Yeah. And that became the big hit. Like he went from broke to, bam, like a international star.
I love a good story.
And then on top of him being an international star at that time, he was, I guess, closeted, or I don't want to say closeted. He just was not public about his sexuality. Exactly. And so he went from broke to international star, doing what he wants to do, and then also was able to live his complete truth about his sexuality. Like literally all his dreams are coming true and they're into fruition. And now he's just like, screw everybody. I'm backing it up on the devil. I'm like, whatever. And I was like, Lil Nas X is living his best life. I said, this is his like no F's given video. And that's literally what I thought about it. But then he took it the next level. He hit y'all with that merch. Lil Nas X said, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and drop these limited edition 666 Satan shoes. They're like these Nike Air Max. And he teamed up with a streetwear company called Mischief, CHF, right?
Right.
Now the
They literally
shoes,
cause mischief, like
yes.
as just in their past of stuff that they've done.
Oh,
Mischief.
absolutely, right? So each shoe has a drop of human blood in the sole. And
Ooh.
the sneakers, allegedly, oh, not allegedly, this is what they said, they sold out in 1 minute,
Yep.
$1,018 each for some Nike Air Max with a drop of somebody else's blood in these shoes. And so that just really, pissed off a lot of Christians, pissed off a lot of religious
Sorry.
folks, pissed off a lot of parents, pissed off, like Lil Nas X got everybody just pissed off. And I think that's it's silly and interesting.
I
And
think that's a good. I think silly is exactly how I thought about it too. I was like, that's so
mhm.
y'all just so y'all don't. My real word is basic. Like, this is really
It
basic.
is,
It's
but it
basic.
is absolutely, absolutely. So what we want to do is, like, because everybody been talking about the shoe. Is he wrong? Is he right? Is he whatever? Blah, blah, blah. Should he focus on the kids? Is he killing his brand? Is he whatever? But we want to take it, the pivot, since it's the pivot point,
Hey,
into about religion and spirituality, and where we made our own individual pivots into what spiritual what serves as religion, spirituality for us, and using this topic as a conduit into that conversation, because
okay. I
I
see we
mean,
using big words
oh,
today. How you say?
conduit, what I'm saying? You was over here hitting me
Oh,
with
okay.
daft and another one. I
Oh.
forgot what you said. I was like, oh, okay, shoot. Let me,
I was like springboard. She said
okay,
conduit.
you're not gonna have me over here looking like I don't read books or whatever. But yeah, so interesting. Do you want to start about religion? Do you want me to start? Where do you want to just start? Shoot.
So I, let me add a little bit about religion to this, to the actual story about um Lil Nas X. One of the things that I found interesting is that I think on the shoe it said Luke 10:18, and then
Mhm.
that really pissed people off. They took them to a whole nother level. And I think that one of the things that I found interesting is that Mark, he was talking to people on Facebook. I don't, I always say I don't argue with folks on Facebook because they gonna feel how they feel and they gonna feel how they feel, regardless of what you say to them. So he
Mhm.
texts somebody and say, hey man, you should actually look at the full scope of what it says on Luke 10:18, because 10:18 says, I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven. And that's all people read. Like, they refused to read further than that. Mark actually texted to somebody, and the person's response was, nah, man, he can't come back from that. It's like, you're not even gonna read it, my dude. Like, same reference to the same dude that told me he don't like dirt. He told me,
Oh,
same
of
guy,
course.
literally same guy.
Basic.
He just would not. And I think that that's what's so irritating and frustrating for me. And kind of, I don't want to say I turned away from the church, because that's not accurate, because I wasn't made to go to church on every Sunday or something like that, because my mom is actually the one who was made to go to church every Sunday when she grew up in Jamaica. And for her, she was like, yo, this, like, people got to make their own choices. Like, you can't force this on people. So I probably would say that growing up, me and my aunt were probably the more consistent of going to church. And then people kind of came with us. Like my mom, like I'd be like, mommy, we're going to church. And then she, her and grandma would come. My grandma would always, read her Bible and all this stuff like that.
Mhm.
But as far as like actually attending church, I did that for a long time. And I'll have to tell you about like church and relationships too, because that's also a interesting dynamic too. So my journey of church is not, I guess, the normal Black American journey or Black person's journey, because I think that even in other people from other countries that have we go to church every Sunday, we go to Bible study and stuff like that. I kind of
Mhm.
got to make my own choices. What about you?
Well, I mean, you've touched on so many things I want to bring up. First of all, just what you were saying about the young gentleman, the basic gentleman, no shade, not willing to even read beyond the one line of Luke 10:18. The majority of Christians I know have never read the entire Bible.
But you know what? I found that many people who are not Christians have, like, who have made a conscious
Exactly.
decision, have read the whole Bible.
Yeah, because I have not read the entire Bible. I've read quite a bit of it when I was younger, and I was made to go to church. And so, Lil Nnete was in Bible study. Like, I got a question.
because it didn't.
I got a question. Okay, like I always had questions, and the answers would always end up with, "Well, you have to believe, and you can't question God." And I'm like, "But you want me to believe in something I can't question?" And so it would just be, I'd be the one like, okay, whatever. So I did a lot of, studying for myself. In college, I studied Islam. Also in my early 20s, I studied Buddhism. I studied a lot of things because I was just trying to understand. And whenever I would talk to Christians from my personal experience, not saying all, but the most I know,
right,
have never read the entire Bible.
Mm-hmm.
And if they have read, they pick it. Well, they haven't read the entire Bible. They just pick and choose the pieces that they, that make them feel good. But because when I was reading the Old Testament, I was like, now what the heck is going on here? Like what? And just, there were just things that, I would say no longer serve me, because I did grow up having to go to church, and I did grow up for a while as a believer. And then, when I lost my sister in 98, right after high school, that shook my entire foundation. I already had questions, and now I had even more, which the loss of my sister and that whole journey will be told in my one woman show that I'll be working on and producing for the Hollywood Fringe Festival this summer. It's supposed to be in August that it's supposed to come out. The festival is supposed to be back on again because of COVID, you know what I mean? And everybody getting their vaccines and stuff. So that's going to be, that's like my story of how you ended up getting the Nnete you have here before you. But the more I talk, and I've tried, like I've gone to different types of churches. I've gone to the Black church, I've gone to the mega church, I've gone to the small church, I've gone to afternoon church, I've gone to spiritual services. And what works for me now is more of like, for me, in the words of India Ari, how I know God is real is earth, air, water, and flowers, like nature. I feel closest to God or the source, because I just use God because I'm used to saying God, but not to confuse everyone. For me, God is the source, and the source of how this earth is spinning, how I'm looking at the same sun that also, provides sunshine in Nigeria and in Belize or Africa. Like I was like, the blue-eyed Jesus does not work for me. Even, I mean, for me, I really got more upset and more questions about Christianity in college when I started taking history and really understanding how Christianity was used to colonize the world. I was like, now hold up. Now that was that old Kanye, Jesus walks and everything too. Like what is going on here? And when you really start to travel, to put aside what you've been told to just believe and start reading a lot of facts about history, about religion, and about different countries, I was like, this does not align with me. Even now with the Southern Baptist churches, I've always had an issue with it because they were okay with slavery. And for me, it's like, Christianity was given to Black people so that they could cope with being slaves and being enslaved. And you put on your Sunday best to show off, oh yeah, the slave masters letting me have this religion so I can endure more years of slavery. So all of that, I was like, all of this don't sit right in my spirit. So I'm good.
That makes
I'm
sense.
Good.
So it's I like the way that you talk about nature in that way. Mine is I think it's a beautiful way to look at it. Mine is not that beautiful. Mine is real. If I'm going to stick to my word basic, I said, wait a minute, you mean to tell me the King James version is King James's interpretation of the Bible that he listen, let me tell you something. That's when it changed for me. I was like, wait a minute. You mean to tell me? I literally said this week, I said, because somebody said, but it's in the Bible, it's the word, and things like that. I said, you understand who wrote this last version, right? Somebody could literally write one today, bury it. It's found 1,000 years from now, and we're reading the Vernique version of the Bible. Like that doesn't, like I could literally interpret it as to whatever I made it seem. And if it becomes popular, it becomes popular, and that's what it is. And so for me, I'm more about living a moral life because that's what it boils down to, is like, do I treat people well? Do I love others? And a lot of the things that in which I how I live my life actually align with the things that they say it should be, like what the Bible says, and what many religions actually kind of, when it boils down to it, they all kind of have that same moral standard. Like, are you loving on each other? Are you taking care of one another? Do you care about others?
There are more similarities. There are way more similarities.
And actually the thing I think that irritates me the most is the judgment. And that actually goes back to the whole thing that we started talking about with Lil Nas X, is like, if we are living as Christ had said to be living, we would be like, oh, he's dancing with Satan. I hope that, at some point he comes from that and, moves on and is able, because if you're against it, right? Like if you're against dancing
But
with
I don't
Satan.
even know if Christ would say that, because Christ said you can't get to the Father unless you go through me. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of, so I don't even.
But what I'm saying is that, but Christ did hang out with prostitutes. He hung out with, there's certain people in the Bible who are murderers that people are okay with. You know what I'm saying? Like there's certain people that are just terrible folks that we use them, Paul, Luke, John, all of them, we're using them as standards of living. And so you mean to tell me like you okay with people murdering people, but you're not okay with somebody dancing on stage? Like I'm really confused. Help me understand.
Yeah, well, so I think from my experiences with various Christians or Christian, well, whatever, churchgoers or whatever, because again, even in my personal experience, the 3 people that scam me were the ones that go to church every Sunday. I mean, I'm just telling you the truth. The people that I've had the most issues with have been churchgoers, Sunday churchgoers, Bible thumpers, the ones that are upset here. And I'm like, wow, you don't even, the way you live your life, I don't want to go to church with you. The way you treat people, why would I follow anything that you're following? But it's almost like sometimes I feel like Christianity is a scapegoat religion, because as long as you just say, I'm sorry, confess your sin in your heart quietly, God forgives me, but you're still treating people like trash. I mean, I know that's not everybody, but again, this has been my experience. But I really feel like that's a part of some of the basica type thinking, is that like people are willing to fight things that are, I guess, quote unquote, overt. Lil Nas X twerking on the devil, backing it up on the devil, looking like he's being pleasured and having fun by this devil that's in makeup, is wrong. But do we see what's going on in here in this world right now? You know what I mean? And I feel like, for some people, like it's easier to say, no, that is wrong, whatever. But these other things that we could also fight if you have a collective.
Yeah.
When we're talking about homelessness and poverty, and I mean, the way the government, I mean, they just basically reinstated Jim Crow laws in Georgia. These are the Christians that have reinstated ways for you to not vote, to disempower you, disenfranchise you from the vote. To me, that is evil. That is straight evil. That is, and I think that sometimes Christians or people need to see that is evil. Him twerking on this red caricature of what we think the devil might look like that's not what the devil looks like. The devil looks like laws that keep you from having equality in life. It does.
That's I was like, that's a word, baby. I was like, yes, speak
it is. I was like, the evil that was one of my issues with why I had such an issue with these big white-led Southern Baptist churches, is that they look the other way with racism. Y'all own all this land on discounts, tax discounts.
I know all about those tax discounts. By the way, your property tax assessments are coming out. Make sure you protest them.
Oh, every year. And we should talk about that. Actually, my real estate show too. We're going to have you talk about that too. Yes. Because that's good. I protest them every year. But we have homeless people around there, where you have the preacher making the most money and you have the parishioners praying and giving. The system, that is evil to me. And so we create these pictures of, okay, godliness and heaviness is a white man, blue-eyed or brown-eyed Jesus, this long hair, clouds in the sky. The devil is red and bad and mean, when it's like, no. The devil is all around you in how we treat each other. And that's what that evil is. Yes. And so I think when people can't see it like that, or they feel like that's too hard to fight, that's too hard to stand up for, picking on Lil Nas X and this drop of blood and shoe. Like, if you want to spend $1,000, how much these shoes again? $1,018 on some Nike Air Max 97s with a drop of human blood in the sole, which, do we confirm? Do we see them put the drop of human blood? That's some red dye and some water. If that's what you want to do with your $1,000, do that.
Yeah.
Do that.
I think it's so, of course we did some research before we started this episode. And
of course.
And so, I think that as you were talking about how Christianity was used, we can still see its effects today, right?
Oh, absolutely. And I think still being used in the same way.
Oh yeah. And I think that a lot of it is based on people don't have the bandwidth and it's easier to go with what you see on the daily basis, right? Like it's easier to say, as to scroll your Facebook feed, get upset about something, so then you respond to it and you feel like you've done something. And the reality is that according to this Pew Research study in the Center Religious Landscape Study, they said that Black people are the leading race in believing in God. 75% of Black people state that it's very important to them, that God is very important to them, religion is very important to them. So we're kind of like in the minority in that.
Oh, absolute minority.
9% of Black people are unaffiliated with any religious group. So I would say that you and I are probably that 9%, but I ain't getting no call to do this study. So I'm gonna just throw, I'm gonna throw myself in there. 4% of people don't believe religion is very important in their lives at all. I don't know, because I think it depends on like what we call religion, right? Like what is religion, but we'll come to that. And then I just want to get to the last percentage, is the 2% of Black people who don't believe in God. I don't not believe in God. I believe in God, and there's something created us. We got here in some kind of way. And I think that there is a higher being, the universe is conspiring for our good and all this stuff like that. So I guess my question is that what do you consider to be religion? Like what is religion to you? Or is it even...
I think religion is man-made, and spirituality is what is an innate relationship that you have connected to the source, and however you view and or believe that source,
Come on, words.
Well, I mean, I've been going through this for years, girl. I remember, like, I'm a Delta. We're Deltas, you know what I mean? And I remember when I was only in the chapter for one semester, because it was like I pledged in 02 in the spring, and I graduated in December.
Mm-hmm.
So a part of Delta Week would be you start the week off with church. You know what I mean? You start off with the same 4 or 5 churches that we always go to, and I wanted to do something different. This is back in 02. Not saying I've been ahead of my time, but okay, cool. I'm just open. I've just been open.
Yes.
I wanted to start with some type of meditation, spirituality, yoga, just something. Oh yeah.
Love that. I would have totally loved that.
Oh yeah. And I totally got red,
yeah,
like got my ass got cussed out and gone off, because we start with church. This is what we do. From the people the reaction was like blasphemy. You're not gonna take, we are a Christian sorority. I mean, I was like, okay. I mean, I'd never said that we didn't have to go to church or didn't have to do those things, but I definitely wanted to do something, because that's when Oprah was really having her Change Your Life TV. That was something that really helped me, just aligning with myself and taking it out of having to be in this body. Even though we, the mean girl that was mean to me 3 days before, she catching the Holy Ghost on the real stories on the pew, but the pew ahead of time. Like it's just a bunch of theatrics and stuff for me. And I even, and even during that time, like I had joined one of the churches until stuff, I was like, this just don't make sense for me anymore now.
Remember we went to the cool church?
Oh yeah. And that worked for me for a while until it didn't. What really worked was at 12 o'clock afternoon. You know what I'm saying? That noon service. Yes. What was the name? What was it?
I don't want to say the name.
Oh, really? Okay. I mean, I had a problem with it.
I liked it. I liked it. I can't remember. I still see the pastor from time to time. He's now a yoga instructor. I can't remember the name. Honestly, I can't remember the name.
I know. It's Pastor Marlon Hall. And I love Pastor Marlon.
I see him all the time, because that he's doing some cool stuff now. He's so sorry y'all. I'm getting my headphones are stuck in my neck, in my dress.
I'll get mine, keep on falling out, but I like these over headphones, big headphones, because I'm like, if we in the studio, why are we wearing these big ass headphones? Anywho.
But can I tell you a fun fact about that church? Yes. Mark was at that church at the time that we went. We just me and Mark crossed so many times. Yes, girl, we know all the same people from when we were younger, but never met. So, the universe conspired. The universe conspired.
Y'all were orbiting each other all the time. But what I did, like, I felt like Pastor Marlon Hall at that time, his heart was the purest heart of a pastor that I had ever met. He was somebody that I was able to talk to about like my sister's passing and where I was in life. And when I tell you, I was so detached from the story, he was crying, before me, and he was just like, the fact that you could even say all of this and be detached. And he gave me like a remix Bible, and I just I will always cherish him. I always felt like
sweet.
he was very genuine in our conversations and everything. That's why I was like, but then also again, just like meeting in church and grouping in groups, that just was not working for me anymore. I was not getting that. I get the most from God when I shut up, be quiet, sit outside with some grass, some water, and just sit and be still, that meditation, and let things come to let my mind run, and like can really hear my intuition. Like, and really, which I do feel like is the source, which again, I'm comfortable with using the word God. Source. Because if we're made in his image, his or her image, because we're made from the same, the same stardust and moon flecks and whatever the heck is out there, like all of the cool stuff that makes the world that we have no idea of. We come from that too, because why is we here?
How did we get? I mean, I wholeheartedly agree with you. Here's the thing. Here's the thing about me in church. So I actually enjoy fellowship and community, because as I think we talked about this, like I'm kind of a homebody, but at the same time, like I like being around people when I want to. So like church for me is one of those things where it's like, I like fellowship and community. I love singing, like, being in there and singing and all that stuff like that. I think I could actually leave after praise and worship, to be real honest. I could really just leave after praise and worship, because that's when certain things come out that I just be like, I don't know. But are you sure? And I think that when you then start going to the small groups too, is that when you are even challenged even more, because it's one thing to be in the congregation and sit there and listen to what the pastor has to say there, but when you go into the small groups, I think then you start getting more of people's opinions and what you should think about what's in the Bible and how the Bible is interpreted, and then it becomes that person's interpretation of what's in the Bible and all the stuff like that.
But that's also Christians doing their job as Christians. Because your job is to, as a Christian, is to share the gospel and recruit and to tell people, because if you don't tell people, then you're a bad Christian and you don't want them to go to hell. You're trying to save their souls.
Which is so funny. So I had I guess, I've never shared this, but Mark's mom, and like Mark grew up in the church. His mom's a pastor. She married us. His sister, a lot of people. Oh shoot, our nephew, he's a pastor. Like he has a whole church. And so it's one of those things. So it's funny, his mom, she'd be like, I just don't want y'all to not, I just want my babies to be with me when it's all said and done. And so, but then at the same time, it's like, I think that's her belief. That's been her belief for so long.
Oh, absolutely.
But when I sit down and ask her certain questions, like we had a whole 45-minute conversation. And when you ask her certain questions, her answers to those questions do not necessarily line up with what I want y'all to be there. She obviously wants, if her belief is that we're not going to go to heaven with her, right? That she obviously still wants that, but her actual answers to the question don't line up with what the good Christians say that, she's supposed to say, if that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. It makes complete sense, because I will say most of the Christians I know are Christians because they're scared they're going to go to hell if they're not.
Yes, but if your actions don't align, that's the part that I'm very confused about. Because that's why I was going to tell you about religion and relationships. So when Mark and I got together early on in our relationship, he was abstinent. I was going to say celibate because he was celibate a little bit. No, he wasn't. But so then we got into the relationship, and then
wait, is this in the very beginning or when y'all got back together?
In the very beginning. So when we were young and we were going we was young when I was still in law school. And I was about to be totally inappropriate. But no, when we
what's inappropriate? Go for it.
Okay. But no, when we first got together, I think that he decided, what it was is that he had a lot going on and he wanted to take some time to himself, and he felt that sex would take that ability away from him to make sure that he was clear-minded. And I was like,
I absolutely agree with that.
Yeah. And so I said, cool, all right then. But that didn't stop us from hunching. And so then we would go to church all hot and bothered, because we slept in the bed together Saturday night, and Sunday morning we woke up and we're in love and all this stuff like that. So when I tell you that it felt heart-wrenching, like not necessarily not to have sex with him. It just felt like so conflicting to be in this situation where you felt like you weren't supposed to be doing this thing that you felt like your body wants to do. Like it's a very like, and I think that's probably when I started, and we never necessarily talked about it, but that's probably when I started to be like, I don't know, man. But then towards when he started being like, I don't feel like this is necessarily the religion and going to church is the best thing for me, I still was one like, let's still go to church. Like when we got back together again 5 years after we broken up, I was the one that let's go to church, and I'd be in praise and worship crying, and he'd be looking at me like, all right, girl. So it's like, life and religion, and I would say I'm very spiritual. I read a lot of books. I sit still. Yoga is more of a meditation for me. I do meditation with Nnete every once in a while. We do we sit still together. So I think that, for me, but I'll go back to just basic stuff like be moral, care about others, like live a moral life.
Well, I think another thing that religion, because again, religion was used to control people. Let's be very clear about that, because we can't have everybody out here just doing whatever the hell they want to do. We got to let you know that there's going to be some rules and some regulations. And for me, why I will always say, and I remember, oh my gosh, another one of these, Christians that I know. I remember the first time I said I was spiritual. This had to be back in 2002, 2003.
Oh, you got
a judged, Christian. Baby. Oh, the quote was, I think it's just disrespectful to God, to Jesus, to say you just spiritual and not to say you're a Christian. And I was like, wow, you think God and Jesus really feel like that? Like, you know what I mean? Like that was your judgment, not what they would say, because you don't even know them. And based on how you act, I'm like, I don't want anything that you have. You know what I mean? As far as the way you carry yourself, the way you think, the way you treat others, or any of that, none of that is in alignment with me. So for me,
what is alignment? Y'all out here? No, I know what it is.
I get what you're saying. No, I get, just to expound on that a little bit, for me, what's aligned is like, does it feel good? Does it make sense to me? Am I doing this because somebody else to tell me to do this? Or am I doing this because this is what makes the most sense to me and how I feel? Because it took me a long time to be able to say that out loud. Like, I think I'm a little bit more spiritual. And I think that also religion has done, and just the cloak of Christianity, Catholicism, almost all the religions, is that to me, it removes your direct line from God, from the source.
Yes.
I use, to me, the source, the universe, God, those are all interchangeable to me. Just be clear that I'm not talking about Jesus daddy, and that's not what I'm talking about. And how, whenever I say God, which I know is confusing for some people, because, I've said that with one of my friends' husbands who's atheist. And he was like, well, I thought Nnete was kind of atheist, agnostic and stuff too. And I was like, well, I don't necessarily call it atheism. For me,
because I feel like atheism means that you don't believe in God at all.
It does, but
okay.
I mean, to Christians, if you don't believe in the God they're talking about, that is atheism.
Oh, that's cute.
Oh, I'm just saying, like, I'm just keeping it real.
That's cute.
Yeah, I'm just keeping it real. So, but I'm like, I'm comfortable. I'm just so used to saying the word God. It's just that God and what God stands for has changed to me. I know what that means for me, and maybe a part of me. I mean, I just don't want to come up like I say the universe. I say God, and that's fine for me, but I know some people just gonna be, upset that we're even having this conversation on Easter weekend. Easter weekend,
Oh my gosh, do you think that he released it this week for that reason?
Oh, absolutely.
I totally missed that. That went over my head.
Absolutely. I heard that he's had this plan for like 9 months or something like that, because he's a media team. So absolutely he did, because it's going to bring up the most conversation, which I had a conversation.
I love that he's such a troll. He's such a troll.
Absolutely.
And I love it.
Absolutely. On Monday, oh my gosh, I had the conversation with my mama, because my mom is a churchgoer, and that's what brings her comfort, which is her name too, Comfort. Miss Comfort. She was asking me and my brother, she was like, hey, so do y'all want to come to Easter Sunday service with me? And I was like, ooh.
Sorry.
Ooh. You want to do like lunch? We can, do that Easter lunch afterwards. Or she said, I'm not talking about lunch. I'm not talking about Easter lunch. I'm talking about the service. I was like, My brother was like, no, I will not go. And I was like, yeah, I'm good on that. That doesn't bring me joy. So it was a very like contentious because we have this conversation probably
Really?
like, oh my gosh, every 4 to 5 months. So what do you believe in? What's going on? And I told my mom years ago, and this is for everyone, as I tell my mama too, whatever you believe in, whatever God, spirit, Jesus, whatever you believe in, if there's not a room, if there's not enough room or loving or forgiveness or whatever for that God, spirit, entity to include those that do not believe in them in that way, but are good moral people, then I'm good on that. I don't want to worship that God. Like if the only way, like that inclusion exclusion, if you don't
Okay.
say this and that, then you going to hell because you're not going to say I'm just a Christian, which that was always my big problem in growing up in middle school, high school. I was like, okay, so you mean the only way? Like it's a million different people in the world. Like it's a
Right.
million different continents and countries and groups within each country. You know how many different types of Nigerians there are? You mean to tell me we all got to worship this one blonde-eyed, brown-haired, white-skinned Jesus, and if we don't all worship that one, then we're going to hell? I said that don't make no sense to me.
It doesn't,
Because then
just
why
on
would
a
they make us
basic
different?
level, just on a basic level, it does not. And I think that that's what people are afraid to be outside of the box
Oh, absolutely. It's
thinkers.
fear.
It's fear. It's very much a fear. It's a
fear.
fear-based thing. And people, like Prince Harry said, to bring it back to one of our earlier episodes, people don't realize that they're being controlled. And I use control. I use control in a loose term because I don't want people to be offended. But at the same time, if you're not thinking for yourself and making decisions for yourself and merely going along with the information that is presented to you, then you are being controlled.
Yeah, that's literally the definition. But again, it's not presented to them in that way. It's just not. It's a lot of ways to cloud a lot of stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you got to be like a 3-year-old. Addison asked me, but why? Every 2 seconds. You should ask yourself, but why?
But
And
that's where
Google
the
it.
Bible was so good in King James and them, but you don't question God. That's how they serve that up. Like you don't question. And to me, that's
And then make you feel
anything you want me
bad.
to, yeah, the only, and I don't want to, I'm not going to spend my life feeling condemned, feeling bad. Another reason why I stopped going to church, and especially, well, first of all, because I used to love Lakewood Church and I love Joel Osteen. But the main reason I love Joel is because he preached light and
Yes,
love into
yes,
you.
yes.
And I
Love.
remember so many Southern Baptist preachers were like, well, he not preaching the Bible.
Yeah.
He just a motivational speaker. And I'm like, well, whoever you talking to or listening to on a weekly basis, don't you want them to motivate you? Don't you want them to make you feel good?
But even in addition to that, I would always tell people, because people would always say he's not preaching. I said, that's funny because every time I go, he literally tells us what verse to turn to in the Bible.
Absolutely.
So I'm confused, which means that you didn't give him a chance. You made an assumption, just like they made an assumption about Luke 10:18. But like I said earlier, they didn't want to read the rest of it.
Absolutely. In addition to making those assumptions, is that they're also used to and conditioned to be preached to hell. And like all the wrong things that you've done, you need to give it over, give your pocketbook over, give this and over, because you're wrong and you're going to go to hell. Let it out. Like they're so used to being condemned. And I'm like, I can feel bad all by myself. I don't need not one person to help me go that way. I need to pour in a lot of life. The world, I mean, that's why I just love kids and I love because kids, animals, the closest to God, the source, the supply, whatever, the universe, however you want to do it, because they have not been conditioned with humans and people and judgment. You just see them just be their full, complete selves. And, the world will break that down. And so that's what church, in my opinion, from my experience, let me go on here, spend 45 minutes and telling you how wrong it is and how bad you are. And this is why you need Jesus. And I'm like, I didn't need all that. I need a good word that is what I liked about Joel. And not saying that I don't like him now. It's just that I don't even need the Bible verses. I get a lot through people's real stories and of overcoming, of choices that they've made. I can take a good word from any religion, anything, from any source. I'll be like, okay, tell me the good word. Give me that. Like, okay, cool, I can receive that.
And I almost feel like those stories almost come at the right time. Like you can't tell me that your
Yes.
story today is not going to resonate with somebody. You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
can't tell me that, and that's why I guess maybe that's why I love a good story. And I will also say that you mentioned it a little bit. I want to touch on that fear of God thing. I said it doesn't make sense that God loves me, but at the same time wants me to fear Him. My mother, I do not fear my mother. My mother did not grow up in a sense of like you got to fear me and do exactly what I say or else. Like I didn't grow up that way. So I think that also made it a difficult task for me to be like, I don't, I don't get that. And another thing too is that when we wrote down the list of what we wanted in a man, I kept writing fear, to be a godly man, to have a fear of God. I said, I don't like fear. Fear is not it's not a positive word. And at the time I was working on my spirituality, like my positive intentions and manifesting and things like that. And one of the things that you do in doing that is writing positive things down to gain positive things. So writing fear of God literally felt wrong to me. I was like, I can't write fear of God in there because I don't think that we should fear God. It doesn't make sense. It like literally does not resonate with me that I should fear God, the entity that has created me to be who I am, created others around me to be wonderful people, and for us to live morally. Why should I fear that entity? It makes no sense to me.
Right. Completely agree. Completely agree. But again, that is what religion created so that you could be controlled. Because we just can't have everybody around here thinking that they can do anything and be anything. You need to be scared that if you do XYZ, there's going to be some consequences and repercussions. You know what I mean? And versus like, again, just like even with the whole thought of karma. You know what I mean? Like sometimes I believe in it, sometimes I don't. Because I'm like, it's a lot of evil ass people in the world that are doing just fine.
No,
They
see, that's the
become
thing. I
presidents.
believe we
They,
don't see it. We don't always see that bad stuff that happens. That's what I'm saying. They could have a polyp on the side of their thigh, on the inside. That's
that might not have anything to do with them suppressing votes in Georgia. You know, I mean, I'm just saying. I guess for me, I think that so much of Christianity and religion is like, don't worry about like the people that are doing bad, they're gonna get
Oh, I see what
theirs
you mean.
and you don't have to turn the other cheek. No, fuck them up. You know what I'm saying? In the words of Toby and Wige, try Jesus, don't try me because I fight. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, and it's a conditioning of teaching people to cope with being disrespected, being beaten
Yeah.
down, whereas quote unquote the people on the top, or that
They
are the
fight.
decision, they fighting.
That's
You
how they
think
got there.
that's how they got there? And so that's what I mean about like the whole thing of karma. Oh, well, they did this, I'm not gonna worry about it because
Oh
my
no.
God, this and that. That's when I'm saying
Oh.
karma, I mean it like that. It's like we need to take some actions. We need to put in those boundaries. We need to
I
say
agree.
no, enough is enough. We need to say, you know what, this building fund, we have been giving it for like 10 years now, and I ain't seen no
We're breaking
renovations in the
ground.
building, no
Yeah.
groundbreaking, or how much bigger do we need the facility to be, or like, just like calling a spade
Yeah.
and doing it from a place of, I am from the source, the supply, the universe, God. And therefore, I deserve to also be treated in this type of way. And so, whenever I'm really connected to the source, I'll do something while I'm scared with the fear, this and that,
Yes.
because I know that whatever is supposed to happen is going to happen. When I am not connected to God, the supply, the source, the universe, I am very fearful. I am very like, I play small. I second guess myself. Again, the other thing, the meek will inherit the world. How, Sway? How?
If
Make
you
that
don't try,
make sense?
because you ain't trying. How you
You
going?
ain't,
How?
how? Why? And so it's just, again, conditioning people to play
Play
small, this and
small.
yeah, and to not go and not to, like, it's grass on this earth. There was just an ice storm. There's wells and creatures that we don't even know about in the seas.
Yeah.
I mean, we got a plane in the air flying, like the absurdity of what is happening in the world. There's people on Mars right now, or a rover taking pictures, like, what the hell? And all that's going on, and we're here with communities and families and talking. There's millions of languages, or like, you can't, I mean, that's a miracle. How many sperm cells didn't make it so that you can make it to be?
Yes.
It's crazy. Like, when I think like that, I'm like,
people I'm trying to tell you, people don't have the bandwidth. And I actually think this is my theory about why those numbers that I mentioned earlier, where there's like 9% of Black people are unaffiliated with any religious group. I bet you that if we looked at this 30 years ago, that number would be tiny. It would be much smaller than that. And the reason why I think this is because we now have more bandwidth. Basically the people before us, right? The Black people before us have worked into a position where we don't have to necessarily struggle as much as they did. We have more bandwidth, we have more access. And because we have more access, we now actually look at that. And then now we're making decisions that are more aligned with all the things you just mentioned, with, creating things, coding and all that stuff like that, because we have more bandwidth. I think that when your main goal is to put a roof over people's heads, you don't have the bandwidth to think of it. And so Sunday is literally the only day you can decompress, and the way that people decompress is to be reminded as to why they're doing the things that they're doing.
Yeah, and building that community and that fellowship and everything that you talked about earlier as well. But also, it's the age of enlightenment and it's the age of information.
Yeah.
We literally have more bandwidth now. We got the internet.
Oh, yeah. Literal.
We literally, like, the world is in the palm of our hand. He got the whole world in your hand. Like, anything that you want to know is there. You don't have to go to a library, look up the Dewey Decimal System, pull out a book and all these things. Like, even now, just like I'm on Clubhouse. We're both on Clubhouse. Okay. So I gotta get us on Clubhouse. I've been in so many different rooms. There. That'd be cool. Yeah, we actually Kim, my girl Kim. I have two Kims in my life that are both amazing. One is a Delta, so of course she's amazing. The other one, she made her decision, and it's okay. But she made my Delta gifts too with my other AKA friend, Sini Kim Dicey. She hosts an open mic in the room, so I've been on Clubhouse, cool. And so I've been on there with her, but also going into all these different rooms and things. But there's just so much information and so much thought and so many. I just always want to be. There was a time in my life that I really believed when it came to Christianity. Like, I believed with all of my heart.
Yeah.
I believed, that was a big thing, like, if, God can bring people back, to life. They were doing that in the Bible. Why can't, all these things that happened in the Bible, if I'm supposed to believe it happened then, why can't those things happen now? And when I believed that and it did not work, I was like, well, what? And I remember, a police officer was the one that was like, I mean, did you really believe that? And I'm thinking, that was my first interaction with the police. Yeah. Like, did you really believe that? And I'm thinking, like, and I remember a Christian told me, well, that police officer clearly wasn't a Christian. And I'm like, and there's a lot of these stories of people that believe that their loved ones, which was my case basically, which is my one woman show and stuff, is about like their loved ones have passed on and that they're going to come back. And some churches work with those families to cope them, to help them cope with the death. But I'm like, but you got us believing in this book that all these people then came back to life and that they're surviving with whales in the ocean, and just all of these supernatural things happen in this book that we're supposed to believe in. But then when we believe in it in present day, we're crazy. That don't even make no damn sense. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. And so that's where my thirst and my quest for, like, now hold up now. Hold up. Hold up. This is no longer working for me. I've got to find solutions. And that's how my journey into spirituality and religion was like, I'm good. That don't work for me, because I believed.
And it didn't work for you because it didn't make sense. I think that's what probably the result of our talking is. If it don't make sense, it don't make dollars. No, if it don't make sense.
Well, actually, this one makes a lot of dollars. Like, shoot. I was like, look, if I don't make it, I'm gonna start a church, y'all. I'm gonna tell y'all that right now.
Like, come on, the type preach, baby. You can actually start a New Life Church.
I've had somebody try to get me to start. Funny, we'll talk about that. Yeah, I was like, I'm not starting a church. I'm definitely not starting a church. But okay.
But if it doesn't make sense, I think people should research. There's so much available information out there that you can look it up. So before y'all come in our comments, I feel like this is gonna piss people off. We coming out happy Good Friday,
right? Be mad. I don't care. Like,
big mad.
Be big mad, and you know what? Better yet,
but now I'm gonna hit you with facts.
Instead of being big mad, pray for me. You know what I mean? Well, I mean, you gonna be mad or you gonna pray for my salvation? I mean, what you gonna do again? As I told my mama, and if this is what I'm gonna tell my mama, I'm telling you too. Like again, if whomever, whatever you worship, doesn't have enough love and forgiveness and covering over the people that do not believe that, but yet they are good people, they are moral, they treat people right, then
Yeah.
I don't want to worship that. Then I'm good. I feel like I'm good. If whomever you worship can allow all of these things, these horrible things, especially to Black and brown folks,
Right.
especially
To the people that look just like
specifically
you.
happen in the world at all times in all the countries, and they let white people colonize the world using the word.
Hmm.
If that's what y'all want to follow, you good. I'm not doing that. And if that means I'm gonna burn in eternity, I mean, right now doesn't seem like a lot of fun too. You know what I mean? Like it's just I can't worry about what's gonna happen then. I'm worrying about now. I'm trying to make my best life now, and I'm not gonna
Right.
sit back. That's just how I feel.
We'll have to talk about reincarnation
Uh,
on
and I
another
be feeling
episode.
well, shoot. What do you? I mean, because I think that all the energy, is science. Everything that was is
Basics.
it's
A-
it's
And
it's
so,
coming back.
so,
Energy cannot be created nor destroyed.
and that's exactly how I feel about like science is science, but people will tell you science is not science. And this is my last point I'm gonna make real quick, because you talked about infrastructure, you talked about bandwidth, and that everybody has it. Yesterday, President Biden revealed a plan that he wants to now a $2 trillion plan that wants to basically give internet access to everyone in the United States. I can bet money that there's going to be pushback on that. Why? Because that gives people more access to information,
Oh
and if people
yeah.
have more access to information, they will push back against what they feel is wrong. So I just that's the big thing. So if they push it back on it, you know why.
And that's also why a lot of these is it like these bills and these laws and things aren't easily available online in
Girl.
layman terms, instead of in this old English legalese that within was it semicolons, it reverts back to whatever was just said, just got reverted back, unless you this and reverse it, flip it and reverse it, whatever the hell.
I'm a lawyer and I
Yeah,
still be having to read sentences 5 times. Like
it's
I was like, why do y'all
intentional.
write backwards? Like
It's
why
intentional.
uh,
And why hasn't all of that been converted to online where we can all easily access it
so,
and easily read it and easily understand it?
So it's available. You just have to go digging. And when I say digging, you have to dig,
Hmm.
because I've had to look up like Texas laws and stuff like that are in motion, that are and it's like you literally have to dig. You have to know where to look. And so I agree with you. And we can I said I'm gonna be loud during election season, so I'm gonna use my voice. I hope other people do the same, because
Well, also, I think that it's always election season. You see, the
yes,
problem, yeah,
and that's what I mean. I
I
mean,
feel
in the
you.
sense, because the thing is, it's it's always election season, because in every 2 years, or shooting sometimes some instances every year. So you
Yes.
have to and they're always campaigning. So whatever is important to you, no matter how small, best believe there is a elected official that is making decisions on your behalf. I don't know
Hmm.
how we got to elections, but no, they are making decisions on your
About
behalf. You need to be
information, you were
loud
bringing
and
up
proud.
Biden and stuff, yeah, and
Yeah,
like how people are gonna not want to
yeah,
have the information.
yeah.
Yeah, but and you're absolutely right. There's always somebody that's speaking for you, and if you don't speak, you're allowing them to speak for you. And that's why I just said I'm gonna live a good life. I'm gonna take care, because I try to be the social justice warrior at one time, and it's like, yo, the best thing I can do for me and for others is to live my full life, and embrace being a storyteller, and embrace just sharing my opinion, and talking to people,
Yeah,
and listening to people, and having these types of conversations. That's
yeah.
just what I like to do. Like, I'm like, look, yo, my main experience is just having a really good ass conversation, and just listening. But I think that's the most important thing that we can do here. You know what I mean? And we want to know what y'all think. When did you pivot your stance on religion? Have you pivoted? Have you not? Do you have what is it called? Apprehensions, fear? Because again, a lot of the people I know, that are Christians, it's out of fear. There are
Yeah.
some that are, whatever. That's their story. Where I'm just like, okay, like it makes you feel better, but you're not very empowered in life. But you say
No.
it makes you. So we want to know your stance on religion.
So send us, and if it's fear, you probably not gonna want to put comments on the public platform. So you could always email us at pivotpointpod@gmail.com, and we'll keep
Yes.
you anonymous. But I really want to hear. We would love to hear your stories. Like we want to be there with you. We can even support you in some way. So please let us know.
Yes.
And then where can they find you on the IT?
Okay, on the IG. Girl, it's all good. We knew you meant IG, girl. We know everywhere is at Nnete. If you put at and Nnete, you're good. You'll find me. I'll pop up. You'll see this face. Cheese.
Hey, and you can find me at Vernique the Realtor. That's V as in vicious, Vernique.
Vicious.
Vernique,
okay, we got
Realtor.
We got victory. We got vicious. We got okay.
I keep forgetting to wear my earrings that say vicious V on them. I'm gonna wear them. I'm gonna wear them one day. I know. I was very excited about them. I got them for my birthday. But Vernique the Realtor, VERNIQUE the Realtor on IG at Vernique on Twitter. But I never tweet. But if you tweet me, I'm gonna tweet you back. So holla at me.
Yes, it is the pivot point. Thank y'all so much for listening. Bye.
Bye.